Your turn.
Where's
Perfect. Welcome to our first regular school board meeting of 2024. We'll begin by school board introductions, beginning over here.
Jim Lockridge.
Molly Rogers, Lauren Anderson, Alyssa Tracy,
Becky Fless.
Tony Beat.
Jack Pitteroff.
Sage Scully,
Megan Carlson.
Jeff Hanley.
Matt Lillibridge.
Administrative staff.
Hopkins Superintendent.
Andrea Dish, Business Manager.
Nate Spilbert, Athletic Director.
Lauren Arnold, Principal, Morris, Director of Special Services.
Sarah Sims, Principal at Gardner Regional Middle.
Vicky Dugay, Principal at Riverview Community School. Karen Moody, Principal of Laura Richards School. Tiffany Cockwell, Principal at Western Randolph Consolidated School. Carrie McGuire, Director of Technology.
Dean Costume, Director of Operations.
Angela Hardy, Director of Curriculum.
Katie Gould, Principal at Helen Thompson School.
I guess that's it. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see we have some members of the public here tonight, so I'm gonna just go over our public comment procedure before we start. We're about to convene into the public comment period of our meeting. State law in Maine requires a public comment item on agendas of full meetings of the school board. We also believe it's crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues, and are so pleased to have this item as an agenda item. Having said that, please notice that the board is here to listen. Public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. This is because we take your concerns and questions very seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, if appropriate, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or have the proper staff, a proper staff member to get back to you at the appropriate time. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments or questions about school personnel, particular student matters, any rumors presented as facts that compromise the privacy of others, and any health or medical information protected as confidential. Please know, however, that we take all concerns very seriously. On any matter of concern, we would ask that you go through the proper administrative channels. Finally, we recognize that right now in our nation and our community, we are polarized on a number of issues. That said, we want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our students that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect for one another. In that spirit, we will insist that all speakers and members of the audience maintain civility and respect for any divergent views that others possess. We ask that speakers please address comments to the board directly rather than to the audience. Speakers may address items pertinent to tonight's meeting agenda or a topic dealing with school or education matters. In the unlikely event that the meeting becomes unruly, the board will recess the meeting and return once order has been restored. Finally, I want to remind everyone that you may submit written comments to the board in lieu of speaking during the public comment period if you so choose. Tonight, please review the pamphlet, the Welcome to Our School Board Meeting, that provides a copy of Policy BEDH, Public Participation at Board Meetings, that explicitly outlines the manner in which the public comment will be managed. Individuals who wish to speak are required to fill out the sign-in form. Those who wish to speak will be required to state their name and the town or city of residence before your remarks. The board will now entertain public comments for 20 minutes. Each individual speaker is allowed 2 minutes. The individual time limits will be enforced by Alyssa Tracy. So that as many members of the public who wish to speak may be allowed to do so. So now as we enter in, I will reiterate one last time that we are unable to talk in any specifics about any students, staff, which building, anything that could possibly identify a student or a staff member. We are permitted only to listen to your concerns through the lens of how our policy aligns with the law. Any specific references to person, place, or issue by identification will result in the meeting being recessed. I realize these are really charged issues with very personal feelings. However, we are obliged to abide by the law. So with that being said,
And the form
there's a
is
form on the podium.
on the podium.
Yes.
Who would like to go first? Would anyone like to speak?
We really encourage you guys to tell us how you think.
Go to the podium?
Absolutely.
Once you announce yourself, I'll start the timer for you, Mrs. Berger. All right.
And if you don't have a pen, if you could sign in first, maybe someone could loan one to you.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Are we on a live feed right now?
Yes.
How come I'm not able to draw it up? The camera part of this.
I can't answer that.
I don't know.
Meaning you're trying to watch what we're streaming?
YouTube. I usually just go to YouTube.
I'm on the webpage and it said live feed, but I can't get it. All I can get is something that's 15 days old.
This is something I've not ever experienced.
She's.
Please hold.
This is the scientist. Let the
Yeah.
scientist do it.
I usually just go to YouTube.
I have a question. Why was Jim fired as timekeeper? Nice.
What? No. You're not getting soft, trust me.
Go up to school board.
So
It's okay. She's taken all my other jobs.
Wow. Yikes. No, I earnestly thought that you.
and everything.
I
was ready to rock and roll.
Gosh, my heart is breaking now.
You should be.
You should let Jim do it.
You want to do it?
No, not now.
We can all do
Pass
it. Let's-
over.
let's do it every
No guilt gifts here. I honestly thought you were not going to be here tonight. I don't know how I missed that, but I thought you were
Well,
not.
Jeannie had her heart attack, so.
Yes, so we have not.
Yeah.
So we-
I
No,
honestly
she's
thought
doing
you
really
were not
good.
going to be here tonight. I don't know how I missed,
Yeah. Phew.
in case you needed to hear that twice.
Well, now we've broken the ice, if nothing else.
There you go. So you should be
may.
fully relaxed now.
You may introduce and then I'll start the timer.
All right, I am Beth Brooker. I live in Gardner. I am the school social worker at Gardner Area High School and also the staff advisor for the Gay Straight Diversity Alliance at the high school. And I wanted to speak on behalf of concerns that I know have been brought to the board regarding the policy for transgender and gender expansive bathrooms. And so I have brought some information to share. I brought a memo from the Maine Human Rights Commission, and this is dated from January 13th of 2016. So it is not new information. And they have a section of this called comparable facilities. And it says students must be permitted to use the toilet, locker room, and shower facilities corresponding to their gender identity. Facilities such as curtained changing areas or unisex facilities may be provided and may be available to all students, but should not be used to isolate or segregate students based on their sexual orientation, gender expression, or gender identity. Students shall not be required to use facilities corresponding to their assigned birth, gender, or sex, where their assigned birth, gender, or sex are different from their gender identity. I also brought some information with me from the 2023 MIAS, the Maine Youth Integrated Health Survey, showing that our LGBTQ youth are at highest risk in many different areas, and therefore they need to be protected. So when asked if they have experienced asked of all students if they have experienced offensive comments or attacks at school for how you express your gender. Students who identified as transgender responded yes at 65% compared to non-transgender students who said yes 5%. So it's a huge difference there. Transgender students at 75% noted feeling sad or hopeless within the past 12 months compared
10
to
seconds left.
30% of non-transgender. Actual attempts of suicide in the past year, 30% for transgender students versus 10%. This is all known students.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth, very much. Next person.
Do you want legal or deferred?
I wouldn't know either way, so just tell us who you are. Who you want to be. That works.
I am Jay Dosty, a resident of West Gardner, and I am a student at the Gardner Area High School. I use they them pronouns, and I am also the vice president of the GSDA, the Gay Straight Diversity Alliance. And really, I'm not the most personal person, so I was gonna talk about statistics and, you know, that's what Beth just did. But instead, I'm going to talk about my experience with the AAC-AAA policy, which the board is discussing today. Because of this policy, I can freely go by who I am without worrying about what other people think, and it makes me feel safe. So I'm non-binary, so whenever our class gets segregated, I get to choose, you know? Like, I pick the boy side because I relate more masculine, and even small things like that, I feel so much safer in my own skin and so much happier being able to pick those things. And I know a concern for one person was that, you know, voices are being suppressed, like concerns are out of the window, but our school is not a place to suppress voices. Everyone's voices are going to be heard equally. So, but historically, our voices, transgendered youth, have been suppressed, and this policy helps at least kids be not suppressed such as that and be themselves. This went off the rails, but really, this policy it helps trans kids like me feel safe in school and their skin. It makes them feel loved for who they are, and it makes them feel like they belong in a world that really historically says that they don't belong. Especially since my mom sat me down today and said, if anyone became violent, I would have to do anything means necessary because they would possibly become violent for who I am. So this policy at least gives trans youth hope that they can be who they are without worry. And yeah, it's really nice. That's about it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jay.
Jay, what year are you?
Sophomore, but a 10th. Okay.
That's right.
Next.
Show off. Prepared.
My name is Catherine Weezy. I live in Pittston and Gardner, divorced parents. So, I am a sophomore at Gardner Area High School, and I'm gonna keep this really, really short because I didn't prepare anything. I just really want you guys to protect every kid, including trans kids. I want you to know your policy and know the law. And don't listen to fear mongering, don't feed into fear mongering. listen to actual substantial evidence when we're talking about this topic. That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Let's get someone else.
Oh.
Hello, I'm Carrie Manser. I've lived in Gardner for almost 20 years now. I'm a parent of 2 students at the high school, 1 graduate. I'm a minister in town. And I have to admit that before today, I did not know what the policy was. And I feel guilty about that because the reason why I didn't is because I didn't need to know in my situation and for my family. But when I read the policy, I was just incredibly proud to be part of this school that has, the policy seemed compassionate to me and fair. And I think, all the things you all have said about this is a population that we need to be supportive and protective of. I support it, and I hope that you all will continue to support it.
Thank you. Recently, a few school board members have received inquiries. Wait a minute. Not
The
there.
public comments over, now we go to the board.
So this isn't part of that.
No,
Really?
that is not until I get here.
I'm ahead of myself, please. Thank you. We should switch chairs.
Just keep her on top.
Some people might like it if we switch chairs. Ah. Well, no, they wouldn't like me. No. All right, next. Review and approval of the agenda minutes, prioritizations of items, and alteration of the established agenda format and sequence as needed.
Great, thank you. We already posted a revised agenda yesterday, so you should all have that. I have one additional modification to add under correspondence, number 5, and that is the resignation letter of Charlie Mabel Savoy, a grade 3 teacher at Riverview. That resignation is effective the end of the school year. I know it's a loss. And also I will say that the resignation of Rachel Pelton, I have a date effective March. That may be a lot sooner. We're already beginning to schedule interviews, and so most likely she will not be here until that date, but okay. So motion to approve the agenda as altered.
So moved.
Tony, second. Yeah. Questions or comments or corrections for me? Course corrections? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of minutes of previous meetings, the school board meeting of December 7th and the school board meeting, the expulsion hearing of December 20th. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jack, second by Jim. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. All righty, recognition and celebration.
Yeah, I wanted to bring to the attention of the board that MSAD11 has been designated by the United Way. They're public service partners. And so we're getting the Public Service Partner of the Year award. And we believe it has to do with some of the work that Angela has been leading with United Way she's serving on their health cabinet. And of course, we received a grant from the United Way. So we've really been partnering with them. So we wanted to let you know about that. We've been invited to attend a breakfast that will be held on January 18th in the morning at the Governor Hill Mansion. So Angela and I will be attending on behalf of MSAD11 to receive that recognition, that award. So
Excellent. Thanks. All righty, correspondence as written. Committee reports, CATC, no meeting, curriculum committee.
See, now Jim's enjoying that. A little too much.
As written,
Yeah, that's right. They were
as
attached,
written,
weren't
it was
they?
in the packet.
Yes,
That's true.
ma'am. See why Pat said that? See, as written. I like it.
As written.
I'm gonna look at Angela to keep me sane, but we also got some information today, which was also in the packet to review for a curriculum newsletter. Thank you.
And to anyone in the public who would like to see what happens on our curriculum meetings, all of our meetings are live streamed and posted. If you just go to our website and follow the drop down. Let's see, dropout prevention, no meeting. Finance canceled. Policy. Oh, the next finance committee meeting, we've changed our meeting time to the second Tuesday of the month, starting on January 9th. So instead of the third Tuesday, it's the second,
What time is it, Becky?
5:30.
Thank you.
Policy committee.
All right, so we met on December 7th, right before the last board meeting. We brought forward the, so kind of as listed there, as written, brought forward the following policies for first reading. And let's see, just a quick review, we were rescinding 2 policies in there. We consolidated those into one specific policy form that will take over those. So I'd like to move that we accept the policies listed for first reading for their first reading.
Second. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Excellent, thank you.
And I would then like to bring forward the policies as listed for their second reading. So I would move to accept those as a bundle for second reading.
Second. Second by Jack. Questions or comments about these policies? All those in favor? Excellent, thank you. Student reps.
Okay, so to start off, coming back to school after the break, as always, is challenging, but our teachers are working very hard to make it as easy as possible, and we're mostly focusing on prepping for midterms right now. Also, so recently, students have been noticing the increasing smell of cannabis in hallways. Unfortunately, it's become very disruptive to both students and teachers. But administration is aware of this issue and has been working diligently to address this concern. Students have been found to be vaping or using cannabis have and will receive appropriate consequences. It's just become more noticeable, and teachers have had to step out of classrooms to try to get rid of the smell and stuff. So yeah, the administration continues to work to find solutions to this issue.
And if I could just add, just to broaden that perspective, for board members to know, this is an experience that K through 12 teachers and K through 12 students have. It is not just a high school issue. The use may be more prevalent at the high school or the middle school, but we have students who will come to school and the smell, the odor permeates their clothes. And so when you walk up a hallway in an elementary school, you can certainly still smell the cannabis in the hallways and on students. And it's, it can be incredibly strong certain times of the year. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that.
I have what's probably a stupid question. If you're vaping weed, cannabis, does that have a smell?
I think so.
Yeah, really.
Even the weird.
Look at all the heads
smells
going.
that they put in. Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. So anyway,
Strength, smell-wise.
That answered one of my questions. I wasn't sure if it was something in the classroom or whether it was on the student,
On the student.
so
It
that's.
mostly comes from the bathroom, like it'll just go out into the hallway. And usually teachers have their doors open, so then it goes into the classrooms and it's very disruptive. My French class the other day, my teacher had to step out like 6 times to try to get rid of the smell because it was distracting all the students and stuff. So it's a big issue, but it's also really hard to address, so.
And you and Ara are going to be meeting with Mrs. Arnold to kind of partner in what can the students do in collaboration with the administration to try to address some of the concerns, try to be proactive.
Maybe I have a stupid question. Maybe we don't know I don't know the laws around marijuana. I know that that Maine, Scott, can you tell us about what's legal, how
So,
that works?
obviously anything under 18 is illegal to possess or to have. Over 18 to 21, you can get a medical card that's prescribed to you, and then over 21 recreationally, it's legal. And what the problem is with the dab pens versus a vape. A vape is nicotine specific, and that's usually what smells like something fruity. But the dabs are actually THC concentrated. So when you think of marijuana and the smell of marijuana from even the 70s, it's probably 14 to 16% stronger smell than it was back then. And the THC content is 10 to 15 times higher than it was back then because it's such a concentrated THC. So the dab itself goes into an instrument that heats up and creates a vape, and that's what is being vape or hit on. So there's the difference between a vape and a dab. It's usually called a dab pen. It's a glass canister that screws in, and again, it heats up the THC content, and that's what we're seeing a problem with, and the smells are coming from. What's that? Yeah, so when we get a student in possession, obviously, the school gives it to me, we dispose of it properly through the proper channels and whatnot. And it is very disruptive because, and it's not fair to the student staff or the student and staff, because there's literally sometimes bathrooms that students don't feel comfortable going into because either the activities are going on in them or because they don't want to have guilt by association in them. So you have a good student searching for a bathroom that doesn't have that smell because they're doing the right thing. So it's a problem that we're addressing, working with the administration and hopefully with the students, we can get a better grasp on it and just keep on keeping on.
So you can't get a medical card unless you're 18? I mean, like a 10-year-old can't get a medical card? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff?
May I ask a question?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I think so.
You confront a student that has a powerful smell of that around them and do a search of their body. I mean, what happens? Is that the procedure you use?
Yeah, so if it's a school type administrative function, then I myself notify the administrator and I will stay along the administrator or with the administrator as they do the search as the school. If it's something that I develop probable cause for, like I would be out on the street, then I can take the student in and do the search, but I always grab an administrative to witness what I'm doing. So we kind of do that tag team, that there's always two, whether they're doing the search or whether I'm doing the search. If they do the search, then it's an administrative function through the school. It goes through administration, through superintendent, and maybe even the school board, depending on the severity. If it's something that I come across myself, I can charge criminally. So
Okay.
yeah, we try to balance the community of the school and the overall safety and concern and keeping kids educated with that kind of let them do the community, the school, take care of what they need to take care of and what I need to take care of as a police officer too. So
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
I would just say to Sage and Aura, when you are working in the group to try to figure a way forward with this problem, please be sure to ask and think about what can you do as students to change the culture of the student body so that more people are aware that it's not appropriate to do that in school. And that more students are like fully in support of that, because if the peers start to say, hey, don't bring that into my school, then maybe this problem can be, you know, lessened somewhat.
Peer to peer, yeah, that's a good way to. Yeah.
I'm concerned about what said about the local grades. Is there, I'm ignorant about marijuana, to be honest with you. Can you get a secondhand or contact high from being in a room with marijuana, having been smoked? And do we have children who are being exposed to marijuana at home and then coming to school impaired? And is it affect, you know, I'm concerned about them, the student, not so much the parents.
I don't have the knowledge to be able to answer all your questions.
Okay.
We definitely have students who reside in a home in which cannabis is used. That's why they're coming to school with the odor on their clothes. Can you become impacted by smelling it from someone else? I am not qualified to answer that question. I know that the administrators will work with the families to help them understand the implications when their children are coming to school with that odor, and to try to work with them to lessen the odor because of the impact it has on the classroom, other students, and on the staff.
Yeah.
But it's legal, so we walk a very fine line.
What is it? Consider it child abuse, frankly. Personally,
It's
that's my own
legal,
opinion.
so it's a very fine line that we have to walk. And I don't know more than that, Jim, so. So I would shift back to Sage to see if she has anything else in her report.
Yes, Aura actually has some announcements as well.
So the next musical is Little Shop of Horrors, I believe I said that last
Texting
time.
about it.
Love that story.
But it's February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And you guys should totally come and support the drama club or the musical club. The cast and crew are working hard, and it's on its way to being an outstanding play. So
Was it 1, 2, 3?
February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Isn't it usually Thursday?
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Yes, never
Okay.
mind. Second.
No, it's okay.
February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yep, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And the National Honor Society is hosting a bottle drive on Thursday, January 6th from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. If you would like your bottles picked up, please email Ms. Boudreau with your information. Yeah. Perfect.
What role are you playing?
Oh, I play Crystal.
Skid Row. Thanks, Skid Row.
I do get a chance to sing, so.
Who's the flower?
The flower, Dylan Anderson.
I've seen some choreo.
Such a great
Yeah.
story. I just love
The
it.
the cast is amazing.
Yeah.
It's always amazing. Yay. Perfect. Thank you. And Sage, thank you for that. That's very informative. Really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, because my cat.
Let's see. That's my. I think just. You're burning into my head. Wellness committee, no meeting. Hopefield, no committee.
Skip
So
one.
administrators report, we would like to forego a reading of that tonight, in lieu that we have members of the public, who are here. And so we'd like to be able to kind of move the agenda forward. The report is, in writing, it's been published, it's been shared with everyone. And so I would maybe just ask that if anyone has questions, of what they've read in the report, that they do just that versus having administrators read through the entire report.
Anyone have questions?
Actually, I just noticed the Count Me In program came up a couple times for the elementary schools. And I just appreciated the sound of that, but could you just give me like a thumbnail on it or elevator?
It's like an organization through the Department of Education that works just on attendance.
Yeah.
So that's what they do. So they give resources to schools and to families to help improve.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, it seemed like it's working, but then there's some other areas where it's still in progress. Yeah, cool.
Excellent. Any other questions? Okay. General information.
Just as written.
Nominations, none. New business, Student Library Committee Club, Gardner Area High School.
Yes. I don't know who's presenting.
Hi, I'm Katie Jones. I'm the Gardner Area High School librarian, talking about the Student Library Committee, proposing it as a club. So for those of you who don't know me, I was formerly an English teacher, and best practice in my classroom was a lot of choice and voice for students. And so I'm looking to bring that to the library as well, looking to have more student involvement, to go in directions that students would like, and work on programming that appeals to students. So far, we've done things like book bundles. So we had students and staff request books that they would like over school vacation, and we had 44 participants, which was really exciting. We have also reorganized parts of the library and are looking at bringing in other programming. And so we'd love to have it as a club to be like involved in the yearbook, pictures, funding in the future, that kind of thing.
May I ask, how many students do you have participating in the club?
So far, we have like 7 to 10. Some of whom are here tonight.
I'm sorry, how many did you say?
7 to 10. So far.
7, thank you.
And some of you are in the club?
The club's here.
The great spokespeople.
Yes.
Perfect. That's good.
We're very excited.
Any other questions? And Katie, it's nice to meet you. You're new to us.
Yes, I am. My first year.
Nice.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I just want to say that the book bundle was really awesome and I really appreciate it.
Good.
You're
Anything
doing a
that
lot of
gets,
amazing things, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Anything that helps kids read, that's so,
Absolutely.
that's so great.
Yes, we are also continuing to work on the community engagement day, but it has been canceled twice so far. So we're hoping third time's the charm.
Yes.
It'll be great.
It'll be great. Yeah.
It'll
When
be
it
worth-
happens, it'll be wonderful.
It will be worth the wait.
Yes.
Perfect. I love that. Excellent.
You need a motion, I assume?
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion, we approve that library committee club. Second. Ooh.
All those in favor? Excellent. Thank you. No, all righty. Recently, a few school board members have received inquiries concerning the rights of transgender students in accordance with both legal mandates and MSAD11 policy. To address questions related to these regulations, we have extended an invitation to our school attorney, Kathleen Wade, who is here with us tonight, to share insights on the state and federal laws governing transgender students and their intersection with school board policy. It's important to note that her role is not to offer advice on any particular MSAD11 issues, and as such, she won't entertain questions specific to any MSAD11 matter. Any questions posed to her should strictly pertain to state and federal law and how it aligns with our policy, as we said earlier. So Kathleen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I wrote a statement, so sorry for the formality. I'll just go ahead and read it. I just didn't want to leave anything out when we're talking about the law so that we have a full description and that I'm not leaving anything out. So thank you for having me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kathleen Wade. I'm one of the school attorneys here for SAD11. As the chair stated, she did ask me to be here today to provide you with some information regarding SAD11's legal obligations with respect to addressing the needs of transgender students. As an initial matter, I want to recognize that we all come from different backgrounds and experiences, and that the board members here today may all have different opinions on this topic. I'm not here to change anyone's opinion or to speak to personal opinions. I'm only here to tell you what the law requires. As school board members, you've taken an oath to discharge your duties according to the Constitution and the laws of this state. In addition, while there are many people here today whose opinions have been shared and who have shared their opinions with you via email, and I know that you value those opinions, you do remain responsible to students, employees, the school community, as well as to the state to abide by the laws. Maine's highest court, the law court, said in 1924 that the school committee acts as a public board. It in no sense represents a specific town. Its members are chosen by the voters of the town, but after election, they are public officers deriving their authority from the law and are responsible to the state for the good faith and rectitude of their acts. Sometimes as an attorney, I find that I'm faced with a situation where the law is really unclear or open to interpretation. And the good news for you all and for me is that in Maine right now, with respect to the rights of transgender students, that is not the case. In 2014, Maine's law court decided Doe versus Clenchey. In that case, Nicole Maines, a trans student from Orono, challenged the school's decision to require Nicole to use a single stall unisex bathroom, which the school required after hearing numerous community complaints about Nicole's use of the girls' restroom. Nicole and her parents alleged that excluding Nicole from the use of communal girls' restrooms constituted discrimination under the Maine Human Rights Act, and the law court agreed. The court said that RSU 26 decision to ban Nicole from the girls' bathroom based not on a determination that there had been some change in Nicole's status, but on others' complaints about the school's well-considered decision, constituted discrimination based on Nicole's sexual orientation. She was treated differently from other students solely because of her status as a transgender girl. This type of discrimination is forbidden by the Maine Human Rights Act. The court specifically recognized in Doe that it can be challenging where students are involved to determine how to strike the appropriate balance between maintaining order and ensuring that transgender students' individual rights are protected. Nevertheless, the court determined the public pressure or discomfort did not modify the school's obligation to comply with the Human Rights Act. At the time the law court decided Doe, it was filed as a sexual orientation discrimination claim because the state did not recognize gender identity as a separate protected class. Today, and since 2021, the Maine Human Rights Act specifically lists gender identity as a protected category. With respect to education, the Maine Human Rights Act says that the opportunity for an individual at an educational institution to participate in all educational, counseling, and vocational guidance programs, all apprenticeships and on-the-job training programs, and all extracurricular activities without discrimination because of sex, sexual orientation or gender identity, a physical or mental disability, ancestry, national origin, race, color, or religion is recognized and declared to be a civil right. In short, it's not in question in Maine. It is explicitly illegal and in violation of civil rights to treat transgender students unequally. If you would not deny a male child the right to use the boys' restroom, you may not deny a student who is a transgender male the right to use the boys' bathroom. If you as a board or if members of the public have concerns about Doe or the Maine Human Rights Act, the appropriate place to address those concerns would be not with MSAD11, but with the lawmakers in the state. Notably, however, even assuming that Maine did not provide protections on the basis of gender identity, federal law also prohibits sex-based discrimination. In particular, Title IX of the Civil Rights Act of 1972 prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any education program or activity. Multiple federal courts have interpreted the term sex in this and similar contexts to include gender identity. Most importantly, Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, who you may recall was appointed to the court by President Trump in 2017, wrote the Supreme Court's decision in a 2020 case called Bostock versus Clayton County. In that case, Justice Gorsuch, on behalf of the Supreme Court, wrote that the clear language of Title VII, which provides protection from discrimination on the basis of race, religion, national origin, and sex in employment, was clear in prohibiting discrimination on the basis of someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. This case gives us every reason to believe that the Supreme Court would interpret Title IX to prohibit the same. Both state and federal law require MSAD11 to treat transgender students equally, and this means, to the greatest extent possible, treating the student as if they were born in the gender they identify with. This means that if they have a pronoun choice, a name choice, a restroom or locker room choice, they are entitled to those things without significant additional effort. Meaning that if a female student is not being asked to jump through hoops to use the girls' locker room, a transgender girl may not be made to do so either. If female students do not need to repeatedly assert that they are female to access the girls' restroom, transgender girls cannot be made to do the same either. In 2020, this board adopted policy ACAAA, transgender and gender expansive students.
In doing so, you did not change any obligation your staff already had under the law. I know that other school districts have declined to adopt this policy. That is a choice that some communities have made. It is not one that I recommend. By adopting this policy, you have provided support to your teachers, your educational technicians, your bus drivers, your administration, to all of your staff members. You are telling them what you expect from them when they are faced with what very well could be a brand new and totally unfamiliar circumstance for them. A child who identifies as transgender, non-binary, gender expansive, or however. This policy limits the amount of time your staff need to take away from other legitimate issues to navigate these issues with these students. If they want to know which locker room the student should use, the policy answers that. And if they want to know which name to use, your policy answers that. In working with this board, this superintendent, and your administrators, your staff, it's clear to me that you all care deeply about children and that you will take the extra time and effort to make sure you're getting things right with respect to kids. It is my opinion that MSAD11 is getting this right with respect to kids and with respect to the well-settled and well-established laws of the state. But I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions about this obligation.
A question. Could we have a copy of your statement?
Absolutely.
Okay, email it to us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Questions for Kathleen?
All right.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
No old business. Board chair, I will be, this is for information only, and I'll tell you more after it's happened. I will be, going to Washington DC at the end of, this month, the 24th through the 30th, to attend the, National School Boards Association Equity and Advocacy Conference. It's something I've done for probably 10 years. But it's an opportunity to hear what's happening legally. These kinds of things will be discussed there. It's also an opportunity for us to go to the Hill and to visit with all of our representatives and senators in person and have time with them while we're there. So I will take concerns with me, actually. If you guys have anything that you would like for me to take to DC, send me an email. I would welcome that.
I encourage Aura and Sage to send you some too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I spoke with the commissioner at our fall conference, and we had a conversation about that as well. So I'm expecting some information and input from her. But we really need to, we talk all the time about IDEA and how underfunded that is. So that's sort of like an old mantra message that they get every time. But if there are relevant things that are happening right now within our district and within our state that you're aware of, I would really like the opportunity to be able to take that information with me. So I leave on the 24th at 2 p.m. And before that, get me stuff. And I'll bring you presents. Yes.
May we return to the previous issue for a moment? I wanted to make a statement.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I was one of the board members that was contacted by a parent in Pittston, that's all I'll say, concerning the issue that was described by the attorney. And this lady was very concerned about the safety and well-being of her children. The policy, as I see it, seems to only concentrate on the well-being of one type of child, but it neglects the well-being, safety, and comfort of all the others. I'm thinking of all the little girls, restroom in the girls' room that would be uncomfortable, say, having a boy in that room, hypothetically, right? And so this is the concern of this parent, that her children don't feel safe. They feel threatened. And the policy doesn't seem to have any concern for them whatsoever. So what do I tell her? What do we tell her? What goes on? I mean,
So
do
the
you have to pull your
policy,
children out of school so they can be safe?
the policy is specific to transgender. That's the intent. It is not going to speak about other students. However, in all of the schools, any student, regardless of who that student is, if they do not feel comfortable accessing a communal bathroom, they may use another bathroom. That is open and available to every single student in the district.
This is the tail wagging the dog. This is insanity.
This is the law that we're following.
I know, and you said the lawmakers are the ones we need to approach, and that's true. But this is I had no idea it was this expansive. This
The
includes
rest of the
locker rooms.
policies adhere to all the students, so I want to be clear, like the rest of the policies cover all students and all their safety in mind. This is needed as an added value for these students
I know,
that
but
are
This
channeled out
policy
and have their
puts-
own issues that need to be
this
addressed too.
Policy puts young women who are coming of age, possibly in the presence of a boy, in the very private area of a bathroom. It's incredible. I'm stunned by this. That we
I'm gonna let
believe this is a
Jack answer
reasonable
that.
thing to do.
Yeah, Jack, and
But thank you. I just wanted to make that statement. You've got some really concerned parents about this, and I got a feeling there's gonna be some drumbeat going on about it.
well, and as she said, this law has been in effect since 2014.
Yeah.
This is not a new law.
I know, but people don't become aware of things until a tripwire is hit, and I think we've hit one, so. But thank you for listening to me.
I think if your community members' children are feeling unsafe in the bathroom, we have to ask why. Is somebody threatening them? Is somebody behaving contrary to school rules or school or board policies?
Point of order, please. We're not supposed to discuss anything really specific about any students.
Only policy,
Only
only the
policy.
law. We cannot speak
Okay.
about anything that could be personally identifiable.
Executive session possibly?
No, not unless we have anyone who's going to be discussed, they have the right to be present.
Okay.
And this conversation surfaced after our attorney left. If there was guidance or advice that the board sought, then that would be with our attorney in executive session, but she has already left, so.
It's just meaning to say that our bathrooms are, as well as every other square inch of our school buildings, are supposed to be a safe place for all students. So if the students are experiencing something that is making them feel unsafe, then they should be going to their administration. As for the young women of our district, legally speaking, there is no boy in that room.
That's illogical.
Legally and morally speaking, there is no boy in that room.
We have opinions.
Yes.
But I just was gonna say that there is in that policy, it does speak to the other children that are not transgender. They have absolutely every option available besides going into that bathroom if somebody is in there that's making them uncomfortable. Well, it is addressed in the policy, it's not.
All other policies. So I would go back to the agenda at this point.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate your candor. Superintendent report.
Okay, so I was asked by Becky and Tony to give you all a highlight, a behind the scenes highlight of the windstorm. And its impact on MSAD11.
I was like, what is this program?
It's like, what are you talking
It's really
about?
the windstorm.
It's
Okay,
really the windstorm.
it's cool.
So, to give you a little bit, I kind of jotted down, I may, have missed little elements of it, but I tried to capture the big picture. So this all started, around 8:15, 8:30 when Helen Thompson and Gardner Regional Middle School lost their power. They were first to lose the power. Other schools began losing power about an hour later at 9:30. And surprisingly, Riverview, the school that usually loses power first, was last to lose their power around 11-ish, I think it was. None of our schools have generators. So as a result, we have emergency lights, but right now they only last for roughly 20 minutes. And so that results in dark classrooms, dark hallways, dark bathrooms, right? Our phones are web-based, which means that when we lose power, we lose our phones. And our phones, again, they only have about 20 minutes. There's a section here I put in the wrong place. Gabe is working, kind of back to the emergency lights. Gabe is working to change us to some new units that last approximately 1 to 2 hours. They've already been installed at Riverview. He has the plan to do the same at LER and HT. And at the middle school, we've learned that a number of our emergency lights are not working. So therefore, Gabe will be adding that school to the replacement list as well. Helen Thompson is on private water and septic, so without power, they do not have water, which means they have toilets that cannot be flushed. So when we lose power, it's always urgent to decide what we're going to do with students at Helen Thompson. I decided to dismiss school 30 minutes earlier than I normally do. Usually dismissal is at 11 o'clock for the middle school, high school, and 12 o'clock for the elementary schools. I dismissed all 30 minutes early because Helen Thompson had been in school since about 8:30 without any facilities, and I really needed to see about getting them out. It wasn't very sanitary. And I requested that parents who were able to pick up their child early, and many did, which was a huge help. And it allowed us to get through. During the outage, we had staff and administrators who were amazing by pulling some flashlights that were necessary so they could take students down the hall. They could allow students to access the bathroom so that they could see and ensure their safety. Food service staff pulled together lunches for all the students despite not having power. So every student went home who wanted to eat. They were able to have food. The custodial staff provided building-based support, and when needed, the very following day, they went to the high school to help clean up from the roof damage at the high school. So just before the transportation department lost its phone, the phones were ringing off the hook. They were inundated with phone calls from parents directing them on where to send their child, right? Because they were being released early, and or they were telling them certain roads were impassable. So you need to know you're not going to be able to deliver my child to such and such a school. But then the phones went out. So parents didn't have a way of contacting us. So Terry McGuire, our IT director, had the fabulous idea of having the transportation line transferred to our fax line, and we have a fax line that's attached to our photocopiers, right? So she was able to redirect that. She had an analog phone in her office. So Angela
You're kidding.
and Stephanie, because we had nothing to do, right? We couldn't do anything. Our computers weren't working. We had no phones. So they went down to the transportation department, plugged in the analog phone, and they were there helping Bud Surgeon, who is the administrative assistant, answer calls. And he was also, of course, on the radio with all of the bus drivers, right? And every time they couldn't get down a particular road or a parent wasn't there, they were constantly calling in. So both of them were down at the transportation department helping. Jeff was driving a bus because we didn't have enough drivers, so he wasn't in there to help. Gabe was managing facility issues, plus he had to do a pre-K run. And so as we were as all of this was happening, we received a phone call from the high school that we were losing the roof on the C wing. So I was at transportation, ultimately ran over to the high school. Gabe met me over at the high school. Someone contacted G&E Roofing. It sounded like the roof was just coming apart, and it was the rubber membrane that came loose. And so it's, if you think about a tarp in the wind and how it goes like that, that's what it was like. And so if we were in that wing, you just heard that noise and that bang. So we evacuated everyone who was in that wing. We didn't know how serious it was and whether it could potentially damage the structure of the school. So we got everyone out for safety. G&E Roof came over. They were unable to, of course, get on the roof because of the wind. But they were able to fix 2 other areas in other locations at the high school, thus preventing a more significant issue down the road. I really can't express enough my appreciation and respect for our bus drivers. They were absolute rock stars. I have the radio, sorry, I have a tickle. I have the radio, and I could hear the conversations. I could hear them talking. And they would drive down a road and say, oh, I can't get a student, right? There's a tree down or a line down, and they would go a different way. Or I've reached the mother, the parent, and the parent's gonna meet me at the tree. And we're actually literally transferring students from the bus over a tree so that they could get home. So school was dismissed at 10:30. The last bus did not get off the road, and it was Jeff. He was the last driver delivering a student out to West Gardner, and didn't get done until like 1:15. That particular student was from one of our special purpose and private schools, and was a student that had to be crossed over a downed tree. So it was crazy. So this office, a lot of people here left probably around 12:30 or so. The rest of us stayed until the last bus was in. Once the last bus was in, then we went home to be safe as well. Gabe has worked with his team to look at the damage. At the high school, remarkably, only 1 classroom was significantly damaged. And surprisingly, it was first floor classroom, not a second floor classroom. We also had some damage at the middle school. We had a little bit of damage at Pittston Randolph with a shed. But right now we're estimating the damage to be close to $500,000. So we've been in touch with MEMA. So the Maine Emergency Management, they're collecting data on damages. And so we've given them our estimate. We're looking at insurance, of course. I do worry about the insurance for members who've been on the board for a while. If you remember the last time we went out for a bid for insurance, it went sky high because we lost the roof on the gym. And here we are about ready to go out again for bid. And now we have this roof. So that's a sidebar, but I worry about our interest rate, our insurance rates as a result. So we shall see. On a positive note, I guess we could say, is that Gabe was gonna be budgeting about $200,000 for a roof repair at the high school that we probably won't have to budget for now, because the insurance is going to have to repair. So, yeah, parking lot. So Gabe, did I miss anything, or is that a pretty good highlight?
Thank you all for all your efforts.
It was a lot.
And extra
it was a
duties
lot.
as needed.
It was very entertaining during our agenda setting when Pat was going through the litany of all this.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you for getting us all home safe. I really appreciate it.
For the drivers, yeah, they did a remarkable job. They really did. And everyone was so calm. As they were driving, they just calmly called into the office. Everyone throughout the district just stepped up and did what they needed to do to make sure all students were safe, and so really appreciate it.
Jim had a question first, but then I'll follow.
Is it possible to get an uninterruptible power supply for our phone systems at each school and the office?
That's only one
That's a
piece.
Terry question.
It's only one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, so the phone system sits in the server room. And then it connects to all these other buildings, all these other rooms. So getting one for that one little room would work for a small section, but then the phones are connected from other little closets inside. And so it'd be very hard. You'd almost have to get a full building generator to do it.
Has to be a generator then.
Yeah, can I add? It was also a payroll week that week.
Oh, that's right.
And I really,
What's that?
it was also a payroll week that week, and we were
Sorry.
struggling to figure out how we were gonna pay about 550 employees. That's who's on our payroll. And I think we really need to discuss, purchasing a generator for this building. It was, 3 days, 3-4 days before Christmas, and we wanted to make sure people, received their pay, and we were brainstorming ways of figuring payroll out. So I think a generator needs to be a topic of conversation for this building so that we can make sure that we have staff paid and whatnot.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah.
No worries.
So that's the budget, Gabe, back to generators. Never mind the parking lot.
Probably more expensive than the roof.
It totally.
Yeah, possibly.
Yep.
Matt.
Is there a way, Pat, for us to file an amendment? Because we lost power, couldn't have students, or whatever, and not, because I'm sure we were using our snow days or whatever. Like we did for the Lewiston shooting, can we do that for this? Is the state looking into that?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk, that's maybe a good lead in to kind of talk about snow days. So we received a waiver, you're right, for October, 27th and 28th. What they expect is that, one, a request has to come from the school board. It can't come from me. I don't know whether the Department of Education will approve waivers as a result of the storm or not. Generally, they expect that we're going to be able to demonstrate ways in which we've attempted to make up the days before they waive them. So my thought, Matt, was we have no idea what this winter is going to bring. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how many snow days. We, as of right now on the books, we had a real snow day in December, and then those 2 days. So we have 3 days. However, I changed the early release day to a full student day, feeling like students really needed to be in school for the day. That gains us 3 hours towards making up a snow day, right? You have to have 5 hours to be able to make up a snow day. So because the early release was already on the books and approved by the board, that extension in itself gives you 3 days. So we're at 2 days and 2 hours that we have to make up. So that, it would be my recommendation to sit tight for the time being, see what happens throughout the winter. We have discussed administratively, and I've mentioned here, that if we get to the situation where we're using a lot of snow days, we're prepared to do remote days. Not remote days like you saw during COVID. It would be far less intense, be lots of packets. Staff would be have office hours for students to contact them, that type of thing. So that we may be able to do some of those to prevent us from accumulating too many more snow days. We're already, because of the waiver, down to 173 days, student days. There's so much to be done to waive potentially another 2 days and have students in school only 171 days is tough. Now, students might love it, right? And they may appreciate that, but I don't think it's really in their best interest at this time, but we'll see what happens throughout the year.
Yeah, and I was only asking because I know when I moved here in 2017, there was the Halloween storm and for like a week, and I don't know
Right.
I can't remember if Helen Thompson was in or not, but I know we didn't have power for 5-6 days where I lived.
You know, I remember the storm vividly at home because I didn't have power for 7 days. But I don't remember about school. Yeah, it's hard to believe. So I don't recall whether we had to make up any of those days or they were wavered. I don't know if anyone else recalls. Any administrator, do you guys remember?
We had to have them wavered.
I don't remember. I don't know.
State was really unclear, correct? Is there any automatic way? I remember we went back.
Get into the ice storm.
I don't know. Again, there were school districts that didn't experience the flooding.
Yeah.
The destruction that we did in this particular area. So
Right.
it's hard for the state to just do a blanket waiver. Again, they might be open to it because it was a state of emergency. But I think they're going to want to see what efforts we've made to try to make up the days first. Again, given that we're already at 173, so.
Okay,
Okay.
that was great. School calendar development.
Strategic
Strategic
planning
session,
session.
yeah.
So wanted to fill you in a little bit on that, give you an update. Angela, do you want to give an update on that or not? I can tell them where and when.
So,
Do you want to do the podium?
oh, sure, Pat.
I just didn't know if you wanted to fill in a little bit more about the process that we've been.
So as you know, we've taken the strategic listening material, the report and the detailed audio recordings. And been developing, using the themes, developing a framework for the strategic plan. And then we've been drafting a vision, a mission, and a community compact, or shared commitments document. We then want to make sure that before something is shared with the board for review and approval, that it goes through another vetted process to make sure that what is drafted really reflects what the stakeholders, or in other words, the students, the staff, the family, and the community members suggested are our priorities moving forward. So on January 18th, we believe from 4 to 6, a notice should be sent out tomorrow. We'd like to do an interactive session. Some people have known it sort of like a World Cafe, but it's an interactive session where you'll have access to the strategic plan information in small groups with some facilitated prompts to secure feedback. Does this feel right? Does it prioritize? Does it seem accurate? Does it seem reflective of the listening reports, so that the plan really is devised from the initial feedback and then the follow-up review of all these community partners, school and community partners. And then from that session, we'll take the feedback, we'll have a process for documenting it, and we'll take the feedback and revise further the strategic plan, and then get that to the board for a more formal process, so that eventually we get to the place where you as a board feel like it's a really strong representation of our future plan, and we'll adopt it. You, of course, would be invited to be part of that, whether or not you participated in the strategic listening sessions. We would invite any board member to be part of that. And then we're going to try to be as expansive as possible with our invitations. And Jennifer Chase, who is the person who helped us with the strategic listening sessions and provided you the summary report, she's the one who will be coming to facilitate that sort of interactive community session. Any questions?
Is it in person or virtual?
Yes, we're gonna try to do it in person. It's in small groups, I think, especially with reading material.
Very good.
That'd be fun. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. School calendar development.
Yes, so I spent a little time around Christmas developing the proposed 2024 school year calendar. As a reminder, law requires that all schools who send students to a regional tech center must coordinate their calendars and can have no more than 5 dissimilar days. Okay, so when we develop our calendar, it's in conjunction with Augusta, with Winthrop, with RSU2, with Marana Cook, Erskine Academy. Well, Erskine Academy is a private public, so they actually don't have to follow the law. But they're pretty good at coordinating with us, even though they don't have to. Richmond. Winthrop, did I say Winthrop?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there are like 6 or 7 of us that have to coordinate. And so, this year, I looked at our calendar and I really started thinking about what it is that has happened the last few years and what we want moving forward. So, one, in recent years, if you recall, we have had more extremely hot days in August than we've had in June. And that resulted in the need to do early releases because we've had classrooms in the 90s on the second floor, right? Yeah, the students can attest to that. They've been pretty hot. That has not been the case in June. They've been rainy, it's been cooler. So thinking about that, thinking about our workshop days at the beginning of the school year, we have 2 days at the beginning and 1 day at the end. And I think there's some, at the end of the year, that workshop day is maybe not used as effectively across the district as we would like for it to be for multiple reasons. So we're thinking about the workshop days at the beginning of the year and thinking that maybe we should shift that workshop from the end of the school year to the beginning to give us 3 workshop days. In the 2 days, we're asking staff, administrators to complete numerous IEP meetings. There's mandated training that they have to go through. There's building-based work, and there's district-based professional development. And to try to squeeze it all into 2 days becomes very harried, and rushed and stressful. So thinking about that and thinking that, if we moved it to the beginning and gave them 3 days, that would just be a much smoother start to the school year for our staff and administrators. So playing with the idea, Becky will like this, playing with the idea of seeing about potentially starting the school year after Labor Day, rather than the week before Labor Day.
Doesn't that sound great?
If we did that, the last day of school without snow days, looking at next year's calendar, would be Thursday, June 12th. Now, graduation is always on the 2nd Saturday of the month, which is the 14th. So it will not impact or change graduation, right? That would still stay the same. And seniors have to go to school 170 days versus undergraduate, right? They have to go 175 days. So we can easily go into the week of June 16th to make up those snow days, right? So it would absolutely work under this model. But there's a catch. And this is where I need some guidance from all of you. The catch is, if you move it to the week of June 16th, where we're making up snow days, there is a holiday that week. And according to your contracts, whenever you have hourly staff work during a week in which there is a paid holiday, they get paid that holiday. So historically, we have not had people work the week in which the Juneteenth, right? But under this model, if we have more than one snow day, right? If we have more than one, then we're into the Juneteenth week. I've asked Andrea to give me some just rough projections. And if we go to school that week at all, that's gonna cost the district an additional $18,000. If we only have one school day that week, it's $18,000. So because you have to pay for that holiday. So my question to you is, should I pursue this idea? And starting after Labor Day, is it worth the $18,000? And I outlined the reasons why. I think it would be of great benefit to our staff. I think it could reduce, although I can't promise, reduce the likelihood of having some early release days. Actually, I think this year an early release day came after Labor Day, so it can happen. But I think that there are a lot of good reasons to have in this particular calendar, starting after Labor Day. But I am concerned about the $18,000 price tag that goes along with it. So before I go too far, right, and in my work with the other schools, I wanted to run that by you. And also keeping in mind, once this is done, I still need to run this by the association, right? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes. I know that Jeff and then Sage.
Let the lady go first.
So I just wanted to provide some student opinion. Yeah, I asked a couple of my classes, like I asked the Interact Club when we had our meeting Wednesday, how they would prefer that. And I actually got a majority of negative responses towards that. Because many students pointed out that it's kind of easier to go back to school, like during the summer, you're kind of more excited for like that back to school feeling than to keep staying. But then I asked one of my classes today and I got a majority of a positive response. So there was just one major question that was common, and it was, how would it affect preseason sports in August? I'm not sure. So I just wanted to raise that.
It would not change.
It wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't change.
Still can start, yeah.
Yeah, they would still start. Jeff?
Yeah, the fly in the ointment is gonna be the possibility of snow days, right? That would push your date towards the holiday.
Correct. We could have one snow day without going into the week of the 16th under this model. Only one. Now, that has happened in my career where I've only had one snow day, but it doesn't happen often. So the likelihood is low.
What's the criteria you use to call a snow day? I mean, is it subjective? Can you tighten up in other words, make it tougher to call a snow day? Can we do that?
Well, I recently sent out my newsletter. Did you receive my newsletter in which I outlined exactly all that goes into a snow day? And so if you haven't had a chance to see that, I would recommend using that.
I confess, I didn't do my homework.
Okay, well, no, and I'm not trying to call you on the spot. I'm just saying I've gone through that and you might find it helpful. So what typically happens on a snow call day is that 4:15, 4:20, the alarm goes off. We start looking at the television stations. I go to the Gray Weather Service. They have a program where you can see hour by hour how the weather forecast and how much snow they are predicting per hour. So you can see where the heaviest snow will be. You can see the wind and all of that. I also go to something called New England 511. And that's okay. That will tell me road conditions. So if it's hazardous, it's colored as such, so I can see that as hazardous. The problem with that is in our area, we don't get good reports for whatever reason. I get better reports from like China or other in Maine, in other communities. Let's be clear, China, Maine, in other communities and not necessarily this area. Gabe and I talk. Gabe will be on the phone with the road commissioners as best he can and what are the road conditions. Gabe is often out on the road, so he knows. He's talking to his assistant, Jeff. He will sometimes talk to a bus driver that might be like out in East Pittston, since we're on the West Gardner side. So he gets a better perspective. I'm communicating with area superintendents. And so they're all saying, well, this is what we're hearing from our people. And this is what we're going to do. And we make a decision based on that. Is it perfect? No. You know, we're making a decision by 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. And we all know that sometimes weather will stall, right? And all of a sudden you get more snow than what you were anticipating. Or it speeds up and you got egg on your face and the sun's out and the roads are perfectly clear by 9 o'clock. You know, we've had that happen as well. So it's not perfect, but we do our best. And I am kind of at a place in my career, I guess, in a place where I'm probably more apt to call a snow day now than I used to years ago when I first started. And that is because we have more student drivers. We have more people who are not paying attention. You have the road rage, you have people who are on their cell phones, they're distracted. And I really do worry about poor decisions that are being made by people, and the risk that it puts our students in and potentially, you know, our parents who are driving their students to school. I always have stated our buses are the safest mode of transportation, but lots of families prefer to drive their children to school feeling like that's safer, and I get it, and that's, you know, a parental decision. But the more students we could get on the bus, the safer that would be, and maybe that could alter a little bit the number of snow days that we have. I don't know, Gabe, did I miss anything?
No, I mean, you said it right. I mean, we make the decision very early in the morning. And I mean, we have to, I have some bus runs that, the buses leave the yard at 5:45. So the drivers are coming in by 5:30. So, and some of those drivers live 30 minutes away. So they're leaving, you know, early morning. And, you know, same with the high school. I mean, if you go by the high school, there's staff there at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we know those people are coming in early, so we want to try to get the word out early enough. And weather does change, and I mean, we don't want anybody to get hurt, staff, students, anybody. So I think we try to weigh on the side of caution.
I like the idea of changing what you're talking about. And some of you do, some of you don't know that I'm the grandfather of a child that died on the way to school. So I'm really sensitive about how the kids get to school. And I like your idea. I am concerned about the snow days, but we talked this year about using remote days for snow days. Could we not make that SOP, standard operating, and just pre-plan for that? And use one snow day as we need it?
You could. However, there are certain weather conditions that would make a remote call maybe a challenge, such as we have a storm coming next Wednesday, right? And hopefully we'll be in school. But they're already predicting a lot of wind and power outages. So if you're going to have more power outages or on a day where it's forecasted, I can't call a remote day, right? Because our students need to be able to access staff. So if staff are going to have office hours, students need to be able to access them, right? People aren't gonna have power. So
We are gonna do it this year. a pretty good chance we're gonna do it for a couple of days this year.
Given that we've already used 3 days, yes,
So it's not
we're gonna-
impossible, but it's.
correct,
but
it's
what I'm
just
getting at is it would
situational.
be keep that one snow days in your hip pocket and then use it when you have the exact scenario where you've got outages and that sort of stuff. And then up to that point, you use remote and then get by from as soon as you, because anyways, that's my thought.
The only potential issue with that moving forward is that this year we have received a waiver, all states, right? We've received a waiver from the federal government that allows us to distribute food to families and students on a non-student day. So if we're going to have a remote day, we can send the food in advance to them. Without that waiver, we cannot have a school day and not give food to students on that day, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
It's like,
understand what you're
and
This
so
calendar year, this school year.
for this year, we have the
Yeah, I
waiver.
got you.
I don't
Okay.
know if we'll have the waiver again in the future. We shall see.
So that makes
And
sense.
so if we don't, you can't have a remote day unless you're gonna ask parents to drive in and staff to drive into the school,
Right.
prepare lunches, and have families
Distribute
pick up
them,
lunches
yeah.
on a day that you don't have school. That doesn't make sense. So that's why we might not be able to do remote days in the future.
Did you query the staff as well, Pat?
No, I have not.
Yep.
Again, with this, there's input from the association, there's a meet and consult that will happen, but there's an $18,000 price tag. That is within the purview of the board. And so I just wanna know how far I can go with this idea. If you're like, yeah, we're not spending 18,000, then I have my directive. If you're open to the idea, then I can pursue it further, which will include input from staff.
The good news is that the snow removal equipment we have today is far superior than what it ever used to be. And the road treatments they have, you know, the road just opens up now. So that's the good news, you know. The other good news is that Wednesday it's just been reduced to a rainstorm, so.
Oh, good, good.
No, I like the idea. I think it's a good idea to go forward with.
Okay, thank you.
I saw Molly had her hand up over here.
I've never participated with a calendar development, but when I was a student, I always thought that there were a number of snow days built in, and our school calendars not developed that way anymore. I thought there were districts that actually got out early
So
based on not using planned days. Is it an association
It's
decision?
just no, I mean, it's just how are you going to kind of record the information, present the information to students or to families? Either you build in days and then you subtract them if you don't use them, or you say, these are 175 days and you add them. I don't know which way is better. In our district, it's 175 days and then we add on. There are districts that do it just the opposite. It's just.
I mean, I have heard from families that have moved to the district and they've said, I've never had this, I thought end of school was end of school no matter what, or it could have been earlier. And they said, you know, we made plans and this and that, and then all of a sudden, school got extended and we had to change plans. And so I just passing along, you know, it's been expressed by families.
I believe the calendar states.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I
it
think it
probably does.
states, right, that's the last day minus any snow days, so.
I was just doing some quick math and it basically amounts, the $18,000 is approximately 0.5%. Which for the effect of what it would have on the ability for our teachers to have a better experience in the start of school. And I think it's a good idea myself, and I would support it. So.
Yeah, I think teachers starting the year feeling well prepared and not frazzled.
Right.
It's a lot of value.
Well, and it will also, if we do it, will give staff, we could schedule it on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they would have a 4-day weekend before starting back in, which would be another added benefit. Okay,
Half of 1% is only on payroll. It's not on, it's a fraction of that if you look at our overall
The
budget.
overall
Yeah.
budget.
So.
okay. All right.
Do you want to vote for that?
No,
Okay,
I just, one more, not to belabor this, I didn't. can't believe we're
But here we
talking about
go.
this
but here we
for
are,
so
down the
long.
rabbit hole.
Starting, if we go it alone and say that we think it's a good idea. And the others say, no, we're gonna still go before Labor Day, is it still feasible for us, or do we have to go with the?
that is work that I have to do. Right now, it's split.
Okay.
There are a number of school districts that like the idea. There are other school districts that want to remain status quo. So I think this year, I think we had one dissimilar day. So we may be able to still do what we want and make it fit within the 5 dissimilar days that are allowed.
I mean, I don't know about Elizabeth, in Rhode Island, we always started after Labor Day.
Yep,
That was
we
first day
did.
of school.
And there are school districts in Maine that start after Labor Day, like on the coast, a lot of them will start after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Can
okay.
I add something to the conversation?
I know, I can't see you. You have to stand up.
So the remote school days, the staff whose hours we typically don't require them to make up are the same staff members who would be paid for Juneteenth. Maybe there's a way of striking a bargain so that we can shift those hours to that day instead. So it might be a creative way of having both and not creating extra burden on the budget.
It's an interesting idea. Thank you.
She's always
That's
thinking.
what she's.
Floating holidays, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Floating
Totally.
holidays.
We get 2 every year. Yep.
That's a good idea.
So,
All right.
Thank you, Pat, for that.
you're welcome. Thank you. Next, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that I will be out of town next on Thursday and Friday. I'm in Portland. As president of the Maine Superintendent's Association, I will be kind of facilitating a 2-day professional development for superintendents across the state. So we do things like legislation that we need to be aware of, and some of our own PD. So that means Angela will be filling in for me for any district specific, things that have to be dealt with right in person. Other than that, people still email me and I'll get back to people when I can. And then I wanted to follow up on ours information about the musical February board meeting. So you started the practice last year where you scheduled board meetings early on the day of a play or a musical so that you could attend the musical. Is that something that you would like to do?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Field trip.
Field trip, so I
Early
think at the
release,
it is an early
Can we get a
release.
bus?
Can we get a bus to drive
Like
you
a
up to
bus.
the high
It's
school?
it's my swan song. Give me a bus.
We can make it a short bus.
So what time would you like the meeting? 5 o'clock? And you have to be done by 6:30.
We
So
can
there
do
would
that.
be no policy meeting. Instead, we would just,
Sounds good.
okay, so the board meeting will be at 5.
Love it.
Pat, I can coordinate with Aura for tickets.
That would
Again.
be great.
Yep. So I'll inquire to the group for that.
So please mark your calendar and
1,
please
2, 3.
attend.
Yeah, so the first.
These
and
are
opening night.
amazing.
You got it?
The musicals frequently sell out,
Mhm.
so it's gonna be important that you know how many tickets we
Right.
all need.
Yep,
So it is a school night, it is late, they often go till 10 o'clock,
yep.
so be prepared, but. All right,
Thank you.
that is all that I
Yippee.
have. Now we have 3 executive sessions.
Only 3. Take a couple minutes before.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you all for being here tonight and for your active participation. It's really helpful.
I won't see him until tomorrow, it's with dad tonight. Are you seeing tomorrow?
Yeah, and I think my mom.
Okay, I'll tell him I saw you.
I'm loving her.
out of executive session. Are you ready? I would like to entertain a motion to grant 30 sick days from the sick bank to an employee who is in need of it.
So moved.
Any questions or comments?
Who was the second?
Megan? All those in favor? Be well.
I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Get better.
Thank you. Working on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night. Okay. So,
Motion to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations with non-instructional educational association.
So moved. Second.
Those in favor?
okay.
Okay, we're in. As soon as Terry goes.
Terry, there will be no action coming out of this executive session, just so you know. But we will have to let you still come my voice.
I have candy cane, if you want a candy cane.
No, thank you. I have.
I have whiskey. You want some whiskey? Great, Alyssa. Write all about me, yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm old enough, it's
You'll
legal.
be on Facebook quickly.
So we're out of executive session.
Thank you.
Regarding contract negotiations with the non-instructional educational association, and there's no action. But we do now need to go into executive session to discuss a contract matter with the administrators association.
Yes, we do. Motion to go into executive session to discuss. Moved by Megan, second by Jeff. All those in favor? We're in.
It's this big, but it's.
Okay, so we are
Right.
back. Good, Terry? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion that we allow the superintendent the authority to finalize a contract matter with the Administrators Association.
So moved.
That was a motion, so
Motion.
second,
Was a
so
motion.
you can
Second
second
it.
it.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? All right, with a heavy, thank you all.
Heavy hand.
And now we are out.
Now we are adjourned at 9:22. 8 minutes before
We had to make any
you
more
had to
things.
close the meeting
If
anyway.
we go beyond 9:30, we have to do another thing. Jim has
Thank
to
you all.
dance. Jim has to dance at 9:30.
right?
It was only what, 7 minutes?
I've got to
We could have
dance,
held
is that
that.
what you just
That's
said?
what happens at 9:30.